Hi, and a very warm welcome to you. I'm Dave Thackeray. This is Thacknology, the first in a series of presentations all about content, communications, and creating customer community. Today, I'm going to share with you my introduction to content strategy. I think one of the least recognized and certainly one of the greatest potentially impacting things that you can do in your business. Oh, I have to think about that then. Make sure that I get you the right information at the right time. Let's crack. Right, the first thing you need to do with content strategy is get your story straight. Now, that might sound slightly deceptive or at least deceiving. What do I mean by this? Well, let's think about it this way. If you're a business and you're looking to inspire your prospective customers with what you do, guess what you've got to do? You've got to tell them, but more importantly than that, you've got to simplify the story and extend the narrative so that you embrace your customers with it. There's a really simple way of doing this, and it's to imagine that you have a audience comprised entirely of 6-year-olds, or in American, kindergarten. Imagine that they are subject to the whims and the nuances of the very small, the tiny, the not quite yet fully formed. Lots of distractions. How are you going to convey what your business does to that age group? And you might think, Dave, you're being ridiculous. That's me. But more importantly than that, to get your message across to the most people you possibly can, you need to talk with a language that resonates and empathizes. So don't worry that you're being too simplistic. You're not. We want simple. We want story, because storytelling is a cornerstone of your business today. Your message has to be simple. So once you've started thinking about your business and trying to explain it in the most simplistic way possible, you've got to really think about who your customers are. Now, you speak to a marketing consultant and they'll go, Jane, this is all about personas, right? It's all about kind of the psychographics and the demographics. It's all about knowing what newspapers they read, all that stuff. Yeah, it is. Personas, dead important. But at the same time, you need to be spending more of your time with them, not guessing about them, right? So personas, what do these customers want? What do they need? How can you, as a business, as a provider, give what they want or need to them? How can you help them live their lives more simplistically? All about the simple here. How can you add value to the relationship that you are hoping to have with them? How can you solve their problems? What is it about your products and services that are so different to your competition? And it could be price based, it could be benefits led, all about selling the sizzle here. How can you show them that you've got their best interests at heart? If they're not ready to buy, because let's face it, going down the route of the AIDA model, which is awareness or attention, interest, desire, action, or what, let's look at race, for example, which is the reach, attract, convert, and engage. I had to think there. So do apologise to all your digital marketers out there. I'm getting me FOMOs mixed up with me AIDAs and me races. Right, so you've got to understand that not everybody is going to be primed and ready to buy just yet. So how can you provide information today for the customers of tomorrow to make it impossible for them to overlook your wares when they're ready to buy? And also, how can you retain existing customers? Really important. Here's the other thing about customers as well. And this is where it comes down to knowing your customers intimately. You ask anybody in business and say, okay, who's your customer? They're going to go, oh, it's a 30 to 55-year-old woman. She usually shops at Greg's. On occasions when she's feeling healthy, she might go to Tesco's. Worst case scenario, Lidl. That's not your number one customer. Your number one customer is your colleagues, your team members, your staff, your peers. These are the people who make customers. I know that kind of sounds a little bit perverse, but bear with me on this. If you haven't built the right team of internal customers, you ain't ever going to get close to the people who are going to pay your wages. Your internal customers, your colleagues, are so important at every point of the process. You need to make sure that these customers are well trained. I'm talking about both really at this point, but I mean specifically the internal customers, your colleagues, your staff. They need to be trained. They need to be made to feel really special. You need to take them on a journey. You need to have them entirely bought into the goals and objectives of your organization. Something we forget is that staff aren't just a part of your success. They own it. So if you're not giving them everything they want when they want it within the realms of fact, we can't expect that little Joseph comes running to you every week and says, I want a pay rise. You can't give them that. You have to understand there are boundaries, there are confines. You are a business, but they do need to be cosseted. You've hired them because they're great. You know they're good for your business. If you're not, you've got to cut them loose. But if they're still great for your business, then you've got to make sure they're happy and they want to come into work every day. And once you've got that, I think we're rocking. It's really important. Remember why you're doing this. Content strategy is all about helping to promote and showcase your business, right? You don't need communications if you're a business that runs on autopilot and all your customers are always going to be happy, but it doesn't work that way. This is not how the world rotates on its axis. When you think about the why for content strategy, you've got to think about three things. You've got to think content strategy is either going to increase the number of customers you serve, or it's going to increase the transactional value of a customer. So it might say at the moment, maybe your customer spends on average £150 with you while they're a customer. Well, you want to push that up to £250. You want to retain customers more than you want to acquire them, because it costs you on average, as Forrester research would have told us, 8 times more to acquire a customer than to retain one. So you want to make sure that first and foremost you spend most of your time on retaining customers, and that's where exceptional customer service comes in. Third part of this triumvirate is to increase the frequency of purchase for a customer. How can we look to making them return more often than they already do, to spend more money with us? Information, communication, and content strategy can use all kinds of devices to reach customers at any stage of the funnel, the process, the transaction phase with you. And it's up to you to determine where you need the most help and where your customers, more importantly than that, need the best of you. And within the realms of being efficient and effective, this is so, so important. I say sell the sizzle. I love sell the sizzle. We haven't covered inside marketing and four walls marketing yet, but this is really important. Your business depends on your people, and your people are what's going to add the sizzle to the sausage that is the services and products that you sell. You've got to move away from selling the features of what you do, and you've got to focus wholeheartedly on the benefits. And this is where talking to your customers is going to come in handy, right? So when you're talking to your customers and you just say, well, okay, how are you getting on with widget C tonight, Jim? And Jim goes, oh, I'm having a real problem with it, you know. It's just, you pull the switch on the back, but when I'm brushing my teeth, my thumb is poised on the front. Why have you not put the on switch on the front? Boom! Say you do some product innovation and the switch ends up on the front of the toothbrush. Wow. That's the sizzle. You know that that's going to make a big difference to the customers. You've innovated through customer feedback. That's what I call the sizzle. So content, which also happens to be content. Your first job, beyond anything else, is to make your customers happy, to exceed their expectations. But you also need to use your customers to inform your content strategy. It's not all about keeping people content. It's about using their content. You need to milk these people. Every case study and endorsement you get from a customer, every bit of feedback needs to be banked. But when you're talking about testimonials, these are ingredients of inspiration for repurposing into new features that can help you inform future customers or help massage existing customers with new ideas, with things that they haven't thought about, to validate their confidence and trust in you. So do make content out of customers or content. It's up to you. Getting my tongue in a twist right now. Let's move on. Do your sums right. This is so important, right? So what can you spend today to acquire a customer tomorrow? What can you spend to keep a customer? What's your average customer lifetime value? This sort of stuff will dictate what you can spend on content marketing. Content marketing is part of a content strategy, but content marketing also includes PPC and SEO. It includes the hardcore sales graft. It includes the outreach. It includes everything that will bring people to your yard to slurp on your content milkshake that is at your home base, which is your website. Facebook advertising. It's all there to bring people to your home base. These are all outposts. And yeah, they're important, but really you can only use them when you've got the money to do so. And if you can get to a point where everything that you're doing is growing the business, growing your bottom line, then yeah, spend more on advertising. But you can't spend what you haven't got. So make sure before you start reaching out with all this fancy PPC strategy that some guy down the pub has sold you, that you've got the money to back it up, and he ain't going to come round with a hammer at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon and start smashing up your beer. This is really important. Building your customer community. Without customer community, you've got nothing. Without 1,000 true fans, Kevin Kelly, keep going on about the Technium. This is such an important read. You don't need as many customers as you think. You only need enough customers to give you everything that you need to survive today and all of the intel to build your business for tomorrow. Because until those customers are happy, they ain't going to tell you what you need to know. And in fact, customers that aren't happy are going to tell you stuff that you do need to know. But it's going to take time to turn them around. It's going to take time to tend to them. Better that you know how to refine what you're doing really well than start having to figure out what to do over based on what you're doing wrong. Creating your customer community is where you've got to really knuckle down and be absolutely spectacular by going beyond the call to create incredibly useful knowledge bases. So important that you think about customer support, best in class social media, real-time customer service, newsletters that really get under the skin of your business, entertain and inform. Again, take a really sharp-eyed look at your internal marketing, the inside marketing, the four walls marketing. I've covered this time and time again, all about the stuff that goes on inside your organization. Don't think when you're creating content that you've got to just create another version of something that one of the big players in the digital agency world has created using 5 days of a staff member's time, thousands of pounds of expense. You don't need to do that. What your customers are looking for is why you're special to them. So we need to be thinking, we're going to move on to this in a short while, but we need to be thinking about what it is that customers need to know all about you to feel closer to you, to bring that empathy back. It's called being empathetic. Look it up. I think it'll benefit you in the long run. What do you need from your customers, right? So you can create more efficient processes so that as your business scales, you can continue to service that growing customer base. you've got to come to terms with the fact that the bigger you get, the less of a human touch you're going to give to your customers, because you ain't ever going to be able to scale at the same level of the volume growth of your customer base. It's not going to happen. Okay? So, how can you automate certain processes and procedures? So important. Checkboxes, lists, operations manuals, all this stuff is really important. You can add the cherry on top once you've got your business nailed down. What are the things you can do that you can automate or make more effective without needing a human in charge and still maintain that same high level of customer service? We've already talked about building out this knowledge base so people feel like you're reading their mind. You can build simple email and social media templates to answer questions quicker without diluting the quality of the customer service. There's a tool called HubSpot CRM, which is completely free, which offers a limited number of email templates that might be just what you need. It integrates with Google Suite, so your Gmail comes full up with HubSpot CRM opportunities if you want to go down that route. And I think email templates are a great way of showing the C-suite that you know what you're talking about and that you can save time, but make sure to measure that time, otherwise you won't be able to justify it. You've got to make sure that your customers can get in touch and make sure that everything that they tell you is captured in a way that's easy to manage. We've got loads of data. We're drowning in data, big data everywhere. But use filters, categories, tags, do anything you can. And if you're using a CRM system, whether it's Pipedrive, whether it's HubSpot, whether it's one of the many thousands of other CRM systems that can help you, make sure that before you crack on with it, that you know how to use it and that you know how you're going to pull out that customer data and what format you're going to need it in. And there are many, many ways that you can customize CRMs before you start populating them with customer data so that the information that you're pulling out of them is relevant when you need it, where you need it. Right, this is what gets me going. Find your heart. Do a talent and a passion audit of your business. This is really exciting. If you've got a couple of hours or a couple of days, a couple of evenings where you can get together as a team and talk about what sets your hearts racing, this will set the scene for a hugely successful content strategy. Thing here is all about having fun, right? We've got to have fun all of the time when it comes to creating content. It will show, I guarantee you this. If you create content and you're just doing it, you're going through the motions, it's not relevant. It's not what you want to be doing right now. People will figure you out. They'll know. You can't phone this stuff in. It's got to be built on passion. I've talked about this before about the guy who was the artisan boulangerie in Paris somewhere, and he would only take people on based on their passion. He wasn't going to do it because they got the skills. He went for the passion because passion does sell. 50-minute video by Bob Scoble of Scobleizer fame about the future of VR, and it's just the guy talking to the camera, but because he's by now got his community and everybody knows that every single second that he's talking is oozing value, is passionate, is everything that that geek wants, he's got them wrapped. You could do that. You really can do that. You just need to think creatively. Once you've got the processes and the procedures, everything about your business can be that new layer of creativity. Everything's a bouncy castle from now on. Hackathons are great to get you thinking about new kinds of content, valuable content that the customer wants, at what stage they're at in the AIDA model or the race model that I messed up on over earlier. You don't have to be going on about work all the time, but you do need to tie it in to the business that you're at, because the last thing you want is somebody to start questioning, well, listen, I'm paying you this. You shouldn't be out there messing around. You shouldn't be out there doing bungee run challenges unless it's got a very serious message attached to it. Maybe they're running down that bungee challenge to reach the end where there's a message that tells them a great story about a client. It doesn't matter. What you've got to do is tie it in. Otherwise people will question you and they will ask where their money's going. This is so exciting. Talent and passion audits are great. Once you've got that down and you can figure out exactly what your team is comprised of, everybody's got their mission. Everybody knows what kind of content they want to create. There might be a budding photographer in there. There might be a podcaster in there. There might be somebody who's just a natural writer. There might be somebody who just wants to host events for you, because content isn't just restricted to a screen. Content can be anything that helps you get closer to your customers and build those stronger relationships. That's so exciting. Now you're ready to start building out your content strategy proper. I think there are two strands to this, and maybe I should have mentioned this earlier on, that there's information that's essential to your product and the brand, and that's your core content. And then there's content that will help you engage your customers, and that's what I think of as content marketing. And we talked about that earlier, didn't we, when we said about PPC and SEO, things like Facebook ads. So content marketing, which is where we're actively reaching out to people, whether they're existing customers and we just want to get some more of that mind share, or whether they're entirely new to our organization and we want to reach them, we want to attract them, we want to intrigue them, we want to interest them. So many different kinds of content, and how it works depends entirely on you. Core stuff is, like we mentioned before, the knowledge base, is the content that goes on the website, the stuff that your salespeople will use as a reference point when they're talking to prospective clients and their client's got a question, and they can just point them back at your website and go, you know what, we've thought about this. We've thought about this a lot. And if you go to this page, this is where you're going to find out our take on it and why you should work with us. Make sure that everything that you say and want to say is perfectly aligned with what your customers want, so that you can drive awareness, interest, desire, and action, right? Make sure that nothing that you do is worth nothing at all. Everything that you do has to have a value assigned to it. Anything you create, just create one thing. Just create one thing and ask people what they think about it. That's all you have to do for now. Just do that one thing, and it'll be amazing. People will respond. You'll get feedback. You'll get comments. The customers will wake up to you. They'll be like, oh, I didn't know that about Jason. Fantastic stuff. You mean that Julie does Tough Mudders every Sunday? Insane. What she learned about business from doing a Tough Mudder? Wow, what about that? What about if you were going to do a live video showing you, I don't know, butchering a pig? Make sure it's dead first, guys. And I'm talking specifically about butchers here. I don't even do this on your spare time on a Saturday morning. What about if you were going to do a live video of you building a website? Look at Webflow. Look at how these guys do it. You know, they do workshops every week where they'll disassemble and put back together a website based on their web development app. Gordon Ramsay does it. Shows you how to cook with his own unique style. And that's the key thing here, is how can you be quintessentially you? Even if you're delivering an old-fashioned message, with you giving you give it your own polish, and people will appreciate it and they'll feel closer to you. And that's what this has got to be all about. So start building out your content strategy proper today. And this is the last thing. You've had enough now. We're 23 minutes in, for God's sake. Bless you. You don't know how lucky we are. Refine. Add some seasoning. Check your stats. Use Google Analytics to see what the people are saying with their clicks. Go on Facebook and find out more. If you're using Medium to power your blog, loads of analytics there. You can even tie your blog in if you're using Medium with Google Analytics. There's stuff like that going on. See what people are doing with your newsletter. If you've got high open rates, are they clicking through once they're reading your newsletter? Is it sufficiently compelling? Are you creating the kind of content that people want to read? And if there's stuff that just isn't working, kill your babies. Don't worry about it. There's so much opportunity out there to be doing content strategy the right way. And we're not just talking about websites here. We're talking about apps. We're talking about what people say as UX copy, user experience copy and writing. How's that going? Because this is all about getting closer to your customers. How are you doing with that? How are you measuring up against the metrics that you laid down right at the beginning? Wow. There's so much to this. And I know you can't possibly change the world with the 24.5 minutes you spent with me. But at least you've got a good primer and some thinking points that you can take away and go, right, you know what? We're going to do something with this. This is going to be astounding. Thank you. Thank you for joining me on this introduction to content strategy, and I know there's a long way to go, but at least this gives you an insight into where you're probably at right now and where you need to get to. So let's continue that conversation. Here's how. Just tweet me at Dave Thackeray. You can always check out the website at davethackray.com, or finally just email me hello@davethackray.com. And we'll see how we can apply this to your organization, because I tell you what we can, and I tell you something else, it will be amazing. It's almost talismanic once you start focusing on content strategy. And I tell you what, it's more important than anything else that you're doing right now. I guarantee it. So let's chat, let's move, let's do this, and let's cater to your customers, because when you craft compelling communications, you can create customer communities. I'm Dave Thackeray. This is Technology. Heading off. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for your time today. Bye for now.